Rotimi Akeredolu emerged winner of the Ondo State governorship election. How did he win? And what informed the elements of the 2021 budget presented by President Muhammadu Buhari? This is Plus Politics. I am Kayode Ladengi. Welcome to Plus Politics. The Ondo election has taken place, and the verdict of the people of the state is that Rotimi Akeredolu should continue to pilot the affairs of the state for the next 4 years. Akeredolu of the APC scored 292,830 votes, while Eyitayo Jegede of the PDP polled 195,791 votes, and Agboola Ajayi of the ZLP, that is Zenith Labour Party, scored 69,127 votes. Akeredolu won 15 out of the 18 local government areas in the state based on the result announced by the Electoral Commission, INEC. How did the election process go? Joining us to discuss this is Femi Lawson, who was an observer in the election and currently in Lagos. Good evening, Femi Lawson.
Good morning, the Plus TV family.
Did I hear you say good morning, or you're already in the US?
Good evening. It's another morning in Lagos tomorrow.
Exactly. I thought you have already moved to Australia. Oh, it's good. It's good to have you, and it was quite exhilarating to see that you were bringing us up to speed of activities over there. Now, we want to look at the process. We want to look at how the winner emerged and how we can consolidate on whatever successes INEC has gained and the political parties who probably also conducted themselves in an orderly fashion. So basically, okay, let me turn you to a political analyst now, not just an observer.
Yes.
Was this your prediction? Was your prediction in any way hampered with the outcome at the end of the day?
Of course, we may not have been politically biased towards predicting what may likely be the outcome of this election. But the truth is that the eventual outcome of the election demonstrated the wish of the people of Ondo State, then the political calculation of the political actors. Remember, this election, unlike some other elections in the country, had three major candidates, being the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, which is the equivalent of Akeredolu. We also had, the main opposition party presenting the The election also featured the incumbent deputy governor of Ondo State, flying under the party of Zenith Labour Party, a party, controlled by the former governor of the state, Dr. Bishop. So it was a 3-horse race, unlike the usual 2-horse race in our election. So that, of course, may have made some of us, as political watchers, to assume that may not have ended in favor of the opposition.
Okay, Femi Lawson, I'm sorry, I will have to actually break the normal protocol now. Quite a lot of things are happening, and the biggest of all has to do with the NSAS protest. From time to time, we might be giving you some updates, and would definitely want to also get your take. I know you to be a rights activist, and probably I almost called you a professional protester. but let's quickly move a bit away from Ondo State. We'll come back to the issue of Ondo State.
Okay,
as we speak, a lot of people are a bit in the dark that for a very long time, we had the presidency reacting, we had the presidency responding without taking too much of a time It started with this. In fact, the first thing was that they said they would stop them from routine patrol. After then, the people continued the protest. They said, no, we will disband the SARS. But the protests continue. And the next thing we saw the president, forgetting what he wanted to say, and he addressed the issue by saying they've taken the first step in reforming the police force. And we also have the governor of Lagos State even going straight to the protest ground to even address the protesters. That it was calling out the names of the victims and to let them know that we are gathering lists of people who were really affected by these things. For me, I think we seem to be getting it right on the part of governance before we even look at the protests. Do you share that opinion?
You are very correct, Mr. Kadi, and I think it's important that we say this. Democracy. We must always remind ourselves about the primary definition of democracy, that is the government of the people, by the people, by emphasis, then for the people. So many times, people in position of authority have always denied the people that status of democracy being a government by the people. And what does it mean when we say democracy is government by the people? The people should have the major stake at all times in whatever decision is taken under a democracy. But there have been several attempts to deny the people of that, right of being, responsible for whatever is done under a democracy. And I am happy that our young people, without any political platform, without any of the nice leadership, are now beginning to establish the fact that governance should be for the people, by the people. And that's what we have witnessed by the NSAS, protest that has been all over the place. And this is enough for any reasonable government, in my own view, to understand that the people must always have their say, irrespective of how leaders feel. What? I'm with you.
No, I'm listening. I'm with you. Go
So,
ahead.
so the idea of believing that the opinions of the people do not count, the idea of believing that we can impose policies on the people is coming to an end. And that is why, despite all the emphasis by the police leadership, despite the assurances and promises, which is not coming for the first time, these young people have remained persistent in their demand that there must be a reform of our policing system in this country.
Femi Lawson, this is more like a conversation too. I'm not putting you on the hot seat to have your. But for me, I think this protest is quite dynamic and quite unprecedented because I've gone round to search who are the faces, who are the notable names behind the protest.
You cannot find it. You cannot find
and it was shocking that even the people I thought actually declined to say that I only joined the protest.
That is it.
And
that is the true definition of the people.
So my take is, what is the significance of this kind of, I don't want to use the word uprising because you shouldn't get to that level. But
yes,
if
there are two ways to do that.
Okay.
Number one, the government and other Nigerians that have not yet participated in what is going on now must understand that the people own the society, the people own the country, and no matter what happens, the people will always own the country. That's number one. The second lesson is that the government must begin to appreciate the essence of an organized society. So today, we're in the middle of a national protest that government, media, and every other person, even traditional rulers, cannot speak to the leadership of any of these groups that are protesting. What does this tell you? They are approaching the point of anarchy. And that is the true interpretation. Because even in a war, you have leaders of the war. That's why you have the commandant, the general, the squadron leaders. That is even in a war. But when you have a citizens protest without leadership, it tells you that the government has crippled the civil society. There's no organized civil society. There's no interface between the government and the people. Because the civil society and the media have always been the interface between the citizen, and government. But what we are seeing today demonstrates and exemplifies a failure of this government, to have relationship with the civil society and the media.
Okay, Femi, I don't know. I'm sorry to expose you a bit. You've been a veteran of many protests right
Yeah,
from university days. But let's look at it holistically. I think we're getting a bit older now to also
yeah,
have it from different sides. But do you
yeah.
think there is any form of public nuisance? Because some people, a good number of people who are not Twitter compliant, didn't even know there's going to be a protest, and the economic activities were crippled unannounced. People spend 6, 7, 8 hours. As a matter of fact, I'm supposed to have a guest in the studio who is also affected by this, according to many people, unannounced protest. So where should we draw the line to ensure that the people on the street, who probably are not the perpetrators, who are not, the protest is not targeted at, are not made to suffer?
Well, I think we need to get this straight. Protests, resistances, and uprisings in code are not usually like what is compared to conferences, your meeting, or your board meetings, or your fellowships, or whatever you want to call it in the organized setting. Protest, agitation are issues that are premised upon inconvenience. It is because somebody's son is killed, somebody's child is arrested, somebody's brother is harassed, somebody's human rights is violated, that we have protest. So for people who are expecting notices, notifications, press releases, or media announcing that there will be protests, you should not pass through Lekki or Ikeja tomorrow, they may not be conversant with the essence of what is happening. What is happening is a product of frustration. A frustrated people will not be organized. They will not be considerate. And that is what we must, at all time, as a country, ensure that we make sure that our people are taken care of, that we address the differences of our people. In all fairness and with all sense of apology, I don't have any sympathy for people who believe they were shut out of going to their offices or whatever. The truth, let me tell you, if you get to that office today, you may wake up tomorrow with the news of one of your colleagues being beaten or being harassed by different characters that the young people are protesting against. Let me give you an instance. Yesterday, a cameraman of one of the leading news organizations in Nigeria had his head smashed, not by protesters, but by police. So you can begin to imagine that if he has also complained that he was not allowed to go to the office, it is the same police that people are protesting against that came back to brutalize him. So it's an issue that affects all of us as Nigerians. And I think
Okay.
Nigerians should be ready to bear the inconveniences that will follow this.
Okay. This is an issue that we will continue to stay with, even in our next news bulletin. And so
Yes,
let's come back to our
understand.
initial discussion. Yeah, still talking about Ondo State. A lot of people felt that Eyitayo Jegede lost to himself, in the sense that why would you think of becoming a governor when you know what was prevalent in that state, which has to do with the issue of zoning arrangement? There is that argument that even if he was more competent than the incumbent, it wouldn't have been a consideration. He comes from where Mimiko came from, and Mimiko was just a predecessor to Akeredolu. Do you think that was a factor?
Well, the people of Ondo State are quite, from our observation, sensitive to the rotational agreement, the zoning principle that a particular senatorial district produces a governor for 8 years, others should produce. It's quite one of the realities that we observe on the ground that some of those people in the state are of the opinion that this rotational principle, even though not a formal agreement to be respected, I haven't had a governor who spent 8 years from the central district, succeeded by a governor from the northern central district who has spent 4 years, and that rotationally in that same principle, that the next central will be the southern part of the state. But that was not respected. Politicians ordinarily would believe they can clinch power at any time. But I think, from our observation, that this was reflected in the voting pattern, which indicated that some people within the Southern Central District believe that they are better off voting a candidate from the north who has 4 years to complete his tenure than voting a candidate from the senatorial district that already had previously 8 years, who may come back eventually to spend another 8 years or whatever, and keep them waiting after 4 years than the next 4 years that even few candidates are now occupying the position. So I think it was one of the sensitive observations that we made during the election.
Okay, let's also look at another factor. For both of us, except you want to deny me this time around, we're not surprised about the vote buying. This is the minutes that we've been seeing. I reminded my guests on Saturday when we were having this discussion that I even recall the days of SDP NRC where you have money, being kept inside a loaf of bread. I remember. So vote buying has always been in the system. But I think our worry now is the audacity in which it has gone. And it is clear, I'm making this statement carefully. It is clear that there are major parties who are involved in this. And it is now where the inference is coming now is where could this money be coming from? And what should people think in receiving this kind of money?
We should be sincerely worried as Nigerians, not only as media or the civil society, about the tendency that vote buying has taken in our electoral process. Just like you alluded, in this country before, politicians were always very ashamed to even physically induce you to vote for them. That is the days when you have to put cash inside bread, give color fabric, and do all sort of things that are not, audacious enough. But what do we have today? We have a situation whereby people are almost coming, on live television to market vote. Before the elections, let me say this, sir, that even we had interface with voters who were telling us that whatever decision they were going to take on Saturday will be determined, by who offered them the highest card. So the menace of vote buying, as of today, cannot just be blamed on politicians from our observation. Politicians, especially from the major political parties, are all culpable in voters' engagement. But the main culprits, from our observation, are the elected. Let me tell you, with do you know that after Thursday and Friday, voters were already demonstrating rather their willingness to sell their vote come Saturday. So already at that point, they were already willing sellers, only waiting for the major politicians to come and buy. And that is quite sad that for a people who are yearning for a progressive change, who are yearning for better governance, who are yearning for for better life, would be waiting for the point of poll to sell their vote. So as much as we are trying to criticize Nigerian politicians, especially those of the major political parties, for the prosperous vote buying tendency, we must begin to hit hard on our electorate who have become, almost, completely carried away
Okay.
and determined to tell their vote.
Femi, let's talk about the postulation now, because for political analysts, they've gone beyond what happened on Saturday, and
Yeah.
they are already looking at 2023. We saw good number of governors, especially from the southwest, and you're wondering, the excitement was quite humongous, and we see a whole lot of different camps coming together. We see a whole lot of political realignment. What could you see? Did you see what some others are seeing too?
Well, politicians are the most unpredictable, set of creatures that we have in this part of the world. Politicians will always be politicians. Don't be surprised that those who stand on the opposing camp today will end up in the same bedroom tomorrow. So to some of us, we are not usually carried away by politicians and their tendency to align or realign. But we are always very much interested in the capacity of our people, the readiness of our people to determine their future, to determine the outcome of elections, and to actually determine the course of our democracy. And I think as the media and the civil society, we should be more interested not in the capacity, the quality has been demonstrated by politicians, but I think more interested in how we can educate our population on the need for them to take ownership of this democracy and do the right thing, rather than setting their votes and giving mandate to people who are practically unfit.
Okay, let me put it in perspective now. What I meant, and you've done justice to it, but I just want to stay on it. What I meant is prior to the primaries in the APC, you remember the song of Lagos and the incumbent not being on the same camp.
Yes,
You remember the
yes,
Alasha Adura
very much,
episode.
yes,
You remember the Borofis episode, and
very much.
probably the opposition was waiting for this, this infighting to fester.
Yes, yes.
But whichever way, do you think the removal or the sacking of Ashomole helped the party to win this time around?
Yes, the start of Mr. Adams Osho as national chairman was a significant, intervention in restoring not only orderliness within their party, but to also stabilize this democracy in it. I am very conversant with the politics of our and some of his lieutenants, and with no sense of honor, I want to say it tonight that having participated in all elections since the return of this president public, the first time that voters' inducement, vote buying, was openly demonstrated and captured on the camera. And I know you were in a state to monitor this kind of election, was the transition of Governor Samuel in 2016. What am I trying to say?
Now
That
that
it is significant.
you may need to take that to the court. Now, I wouldn't allow you to
Okay,
make
okay, I agree.
such allegations.
So, in essence, the ability of the party to dissolve that national acting committee and the capacity of the governor of Ondo State, Mr. Rotimi Akeredolu, to reconcile with the aggrieved party,
Okay,
especially those loyal to the Oshomole factor of the party,
okay.
was very instrumental
So he's
in the
winning.
outcome of this election.
Thank you so much, Femi Lawson, for your time. We quite appreciate your intervention on this, and for the fact that you were able to even dabble into the NSAS protest. We will stay on this issue. Thank you for your time.
You are welcome, sir.
And we will take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be discussing the proposed 2021 budget. We'll be right back. Please don't go anywhere.